All right. Hey, how you doing out there? Let's talk about the AI news. All right, guys, let's get into it. So, if you've been following the channel, welcome back. If not, hello, welcome. Last few weeks, I had talked a few times about OpenClaw, which was the open source software that was, breaking all sorts of records on GitHub and causing a lot of havoc for some. My approach was that I was going to wait and see at least 2 weeks. It's about 3 weeks out now, and kind of what I anticipated has happened. There's been a lot of new updates to OpenClaw, security updates, etc. There's been a lot of wrappers and kind of like new fork-offs of lighter, smaller versions. There's been some hosted versions, and most recently we've seen kind of I don't know if they're quite equivalent, but for many people there's functionality by some of the larger players. So we have like Meta's Manus AI, we have now Claude has their own they basically, there's a lot of these frontiers that kind of have their own somewhat versions, Kimi K2, whatever it might be, and the list goes on and on. Perplexity AI just came out with their computer use, and that was just recent. Now it looks like some of the pricing tiers, some folks are saying it's, for some of these plans, like Perplexity, I think was $167 a month, US dollars. Some of the others are a little less. Some of them were, I think Manus was around $40 a month for subscription. But I've also been reading, a lot of people are, questioning whether or not people are just excited or hyped, or if there's actually some value that people can apply, make money, into their own businesses, help businesses. And it does seem that it's sort of mixed. I think that this is kind of where we've been. There's people that, like, even with the chatbots, right? I mean, there's prompt engineering, there's meta prompting, right? Asking the LLMs, what prompts would you recommend that I use to give right back to you or to give to another MLM to get the desired result. There are, the technical limitations for certain things, like if you're working on like OpenClaw, just the setup alone, or having to navigate a terminal or a computer, CLI. But things are moving and they are evolving. So, we're in the, getting towards the last week here of February 2026. And I think, if we just kind of reflect where we've been, Andre Karpathy just wrote, something about, saying like, listen, like just 2 months ago, I mean, most of these agent things didn't really work, right? Or they didn't work quite well. But now he seems to be thinking that, that something major has happened, that, that we are entering into a new era for agents. So this is pretty interesting. I mean, we're seeing a lot. And so, as I step back now after just a few weeks, I mean, I guess my thought was OpenClaw, if you are technical, great, maybe that was something you wanted to go pursue. But I thought for most people that it might be more of a headache. Although you might learn, right? I mean, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. You don't know, if you think you've got it all set up, but maybe you didn't, or you don't know, you left one port open, or, you gave an authorization, blah, blah, blah. So it's just been kind of fun to tinker and experiment, but at the same time watch. Now, another thing, with some of these things, these automations, I'm seeing that, like, Claude started, Anthropic started it. Now you're seeing Google maybe banning, accounts for using automation. I think we've always kind of been in that age, and this goes back probably a decade or more, when you're automating anything, some of these services don't like that, that non-human touch. But this is different. Obviously, this is automation plus these, AI systems. So, we're still in this gray area of, what is allowed, what's not allowed, what should I do, where should I push the boundaries. When in doubt, probably, experiment and tinker with things that, if it all goes away tomorrow, that, either you can start right back up, reboot it with something new, or it didn't matter, that you learned what you wanted to learn. That's where we're at. I don't see, I think large companies, while they're interested, they're much more concerned about safety and, turning over their own database, in their own internal computers. That's understandable. More recently in the news, we've had take like the Pentagon here in the U.S., right? Thinking about how do we use these systems for peace and war and enforcement. There were 4 companies that had big deals. The big 4, right? The Googles, the XAIs, Anthropic. But what I want to point out is that it's been in the news recently because Anthropic, especially, was asking questions. I guess this was linked with Palantir, but it seems like there's a stalemate between Pete Hegseth in the Pentagon and with Anthropic CEO and basically their ethos of, what they think their technology should and should not be used for. And it seems like right now they might be wanting to draw that hard line, where they're not autonomous systems that kill, and that number 2, that there's not use for mass surveillance of citizenry. But again, Anthropic's not the only game in town. There's many other models, and the Pentagon seems to be already having, some of the others incorporated as well. Let's see what else. Just a few other side points. I have mentioned that one of my favorite podcasts is the Moonshots podcast. If you're not familiar, highly recommend looking that up. Moonshots, Peter Diamandis, Salim, Mr. EXO, they call him, Singularity University guys. And you've got Dave Blunden, MIT, Link Ventures, and Dr. Alex Wiesner-Gross. And then occasionally they'll have guests on, new people. They usually, I think they've been putting new content out about twice a week. But in my opinion, it's a really good, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, if you are wanting to kind of just get a broad understanding and then follow the deep dives and accurate research. And these are guys that have been doing this for a long time. They are optimistic, but also, aware of some of the shortcomings. And they're trying to encourage, folks to take advantage and to use this for good. Just on another side note, personally, I don't know if you guys have, run into these automated citation or traffic ticket systems in your community, for like maybe it's a school bus program or automated cameras, in the what seems like a very noble cause in the name of safety, but when applied and there's maybe supposed to be a human in the loop, but nobody really knows what is actually going on, if anyone's really reviewing or if they're just rubber stamping. And it just seems like we've been through this game before with the internet. We've been through it, with social media. We now, crypto, and here we are with AI. Governments seem to be, very slow to react, and I think that's just what to expect, especially in exponential times. Even lawmakers, most of them, they self-admit that they can't be experts in every field, and so, take that for what you will. I guess my contention was just at a local level. When we were joking about a kangaroo court, but when you find out that the enforcers of these automated AI camera tickets, where basically, if you go past a light or a school bus or whatever, an automatic ticket, and then it'll be generated and sent to you maybe in the mail a few weeks later, maybe with some video or picture evidence. But in practice, even if you try to fight it, in some of these jurisdictions, at least around here, the same people that are enforcing it are the same ones that are adjudicating it. So basically you're guilty before you're guilty. And to me, that it seems very illegal, and it seems very not, it's definitely not impartial. Doesn't seem like justice. It just seems like something that I understand the intent and the safety of, but the sheer number and the way that, you could see municipalities just using these things for just, bringing in revenue into their budgets. I don't know if that's the intent, but again, I bring this only up because, it's kind of a local issue that, has affected, tens of thousands of people already here locally. It's not in every jurisdiction, but, I think we have to be very careful about how we allow, not only AI systems, but also, how they're enforced, just to make sure that due process still exists. And I know this might be something small, in terms of, depending on where you are. Like in our state, a lot of these are like, they're citations. They're not even real traffic violations. So, there's little consequence in terms of on people's record or whatnot. But, a couple $100 potential for a fee. And I think most people probably just don't say anything and just pay it. And, unfortunately, I was shocked to just learn that, truly, kangaroo court. You can't make this up if you tried. Like, the very people that are responsible for trying to be fair don't even have the incentive to do so, because they're the same people that need to raise more money. So it's just like, well, you're guilty. Am I? And unless you're a lawyer, you won't know. But anyways, that's a side note. Not really, the main point, but maybe that's something that everybody in their own communities kind of has some sort of experience with, for better or worse. But what else is there? Let's see, what else did I want to say? Oh, so just a few other things on agents. I have been looking to see what some people have been doing, setting up some of their agents. Some pretty interesting experiments when it comes to, giving them agents their own crypto wallets, letting them trade, letting them kind of compete against themselves to see how they do. Stay tuned on that. I think it's early, but I am watching a few people that are doing just that. And yeah, we'll call it there. All right, folks, hope you're having a great day. Again, we're almost to the end of February. That's just some of the things that I've been looking at recently. And, there'll be more to come. But in the meantime, live life, spend time with your loved ones, spend time with your furry friends, dogs, cats, what have it. And peace.